Let's just update, looking at the overall market. We are starting to see quite a bit of positivity coming through. Asian markets in positive territory, South African markets also on the front foot, and European shares mostly sitting at 28-month highs, but flatlining today. It's all about that Spanish bond auction.
Yes, Eleni, we're seeing, we came in with a slightly strong dollar, but we've seen the dollar pull back against the euro and different other currencies. So we're seeing the surge in commodity prices. We're seeing Brent spot close to, it almost looked like it was going to touch 100 US dollars, with some speculation that it could reach all the way up to 105. So a lot of flow. Today we saw traded just over 3 billion around this time of the day, so a fairly big day. And we've seen some up days the last couple of days, and we were expecting perhaps a little bit of a slower morning, but the market seems to have picked up momentum and it seems to be soaring ahead.
Right, let's quickly check in on some other big stories coming out in South Africa today. I mean, we're also focusing, as you mentioned, looking at the ECB and the BOE as well. It seems there's going to be a big focus on the external developments on a global level, with particular focus to the European Union. How is that going to be then affecting sentiment in the local market?
Eleni, I think the markets have priced in no rate increase. We have, however, seen that inflation has been continually coming out above their targets, especially in the ECB. Are we possibly going to see a comment out of the ECB in terms of expectation for rates going forward? But for today, we're expecting no rate change.
All right, let's touch on big news in South Africa when it comes to markets and, of course, some of the big companies. Brait coming under pressure, of course, private equity firm, says that it is planning to raise capital on the equity markets. This stock coming under pressure, as I mentioned. They are looking for a possible transaction. What is your view on this stock and the fact that we have seen pressure in today's session?
Eleni, it seems like the news has been in the market for a couple of days. We've seen the stock really run quite hard, up 5% yesterday. It is coming off those recent highs. Brait is obviously not saying much. They have, however, confirmed that the transaction will be concluded, or we'll get final numbers out of that in 3 weeks. So it looks like they've done a lot of work beforehand. So it's pretty much in the share price. It is at recent highs, so investors are cautioned at the moment until we see actual numbers or we get more detail out of that before entering the stock at these current levels.
Datatec also came out with a trading update today and saying that in this financial year, the second half is said to be better than the first half of the year. Also just focusing on the fact that it does say it's going to be profitable and perhaps do far better on the revenue front. We know technology going forward in South Africa is going to be relatively robust. Would you put a buy on this stock?
Eleni, it's trading at recent highs. We have seen them in terms of their strategy. They acquired Network Infrastructure Corporate in the US. They have come out to say they're at the top, close to their top end of the earnings forecast, which is obviously very positive for them. But we're going to have to see how their numbers play out and how they're able to carry out the rest of 2011. We obviously get those numbers out in Feb for them. In terms of the US, we obviously saw tech stocks really running hard in the US. So SA stocks really benefiting from the global run we've seen in tech stocks.
Fantastic. Also just taking a look at Mr. Price, we saw third quarter sales growing by 10.4% year on year, and the like-for-like sales sitting at 7.9% for the quarter. Mr. Price Apparel, as we know, always the outperformer, growth of 12.8%. Many investors out there say that most retailers are fully priced, but it seems that Mr. Price is still looking attractive to some.
Eleni, investors should be fairly cautious. I think Mr. Price has somewhat disappointed the markets when you look at the sales numbers. Investors had expected a far better result out of those numbers, with the increase of disposable discretionary sales and income coming out of consumers, and that they really haven't been able to capitalize that. But we are speculating that the cash or the sales have probably gone into credit sales versus cash. So we will, Mr. Price is fairly fully priced at the moment, and we have a hold on that share at the moment.
Before I came on air, looking at that ArcelorMittal share price up around 5.5%, and also just looking at what's happening on the thermal coal side of things as well. On a global level, we're seeing incredible price gains because of the floods in Australia. That is going to hamper the steel prices. We're going to see big steel price rises as well, so input costs rising. What is the reason that ArcelorMittal is having such a strong day?
Eleni, they've come out to say that they've obviously had to close some of their or slow down their production towards the end of last year. They're now ramping up. They're coming into the new year. The other part is they're seeing dramatic demand for steel, and we're expecting a price increase coming through from them. So they're definitely seeing the demand, and they're going to be able to implement that price increase. So very positive for the company, as well as obviously that coming from the thermal coal shortages. So it's definitely a good start for them, and if they're able to carry through those price increases as they're predicting, it should be a good year for them.